Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life, using real food, and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe is going to be a roasted cauliflower potato salad. And trust me on this one, it tastes like potato salad. It is absolutely delicious. So even if you're not a big fan of cauliflower, give this one a try. My husband never liked cauliflower, and I started cooking with it all the time, and this is one of his favorite potato salads. All right, so it's very simple to do, and the most time-consuming thing, honestly, is cutting up the cauliflower. And I'm gonna show you how to do that, but you could use a food processor if you wanted to. I choose not to because I like to be in control of the size of the florets because I want to get them as close to the size of a potato chunk as I can. So I just do that with a knife, and it's super easy. I'm gonna show you how. So basically, when you get the cauliflower, it's got this stem still on it, and I just kind of pull those off just so I can see where the florets attach at the stem, so I can get a visual. So I just pull these off just with my fingers. Some are tough, some are easier. And then once I can see down into the cauliflower, I know where to cut. So then I'm gonna take a nice sharp knife, and watch your fingers, of course, and I'm just gonna go down and I'm just gonna cut around this stem, and we're going to start to pull off these large florets, and I'm going to continue to do that until I have them all removed. This would work well if you're just roasting cauliflower too for a side dish. So this technique works pretty well. All right, and that's it. Now this can go in the compost bin. All right, so I have all of my large florets, and now we're gonna break them up. So let me just move these out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll take a pretty large one here. Oops, run away. All right, so when you have the large floret, there's now another stem, and we want to cut those off as well. Keep knocking these off. So same principle. We're going to just go around and cut this stem off. And we're not cutting into any of the florets themselves because when you do that, like I've done it before, and I'm sure you guys have too, where you just cut straight down the cauliflower or quarter it, you end up with all these little pieces like this, and they're gonna kind of overcook in this recipe. So these are the size of the florets that we want. They're about the size of a nickel, I would say. And then you just pop them in the bottom of the pot. So I'm just gonna do that with all of the cauliflower florets. And when you get down to something like this, still, I don't cut straight down. I still take my knife and go around where I see these little stems and cut, and I get these pieces. Now this is fine. It's a little smaller, but it's gonna be perfectly fine. And then if one's about this size, I just kind of break it up. Be fine. You don't have to be exact, but you want them to be somewhat similar in size so that they cook evenly. All right, so I'm just gonna finish these up, and then we'll get to roasting the cauliflower and cooking our bacon. All right, so all of the cauliflower has been cut up, and they're in little bite-sized pieces as you want them to be. Now we're gonna get the rack that came with an inch of Foodi, and we're gonna put it in. Now sometimes you have to kind of wiggle it around to get it because you want it to sit on the bottom, and you just have to kind of play with it to move it around so that it gets through the cauliflower pieces. All right, so what I have here is 4 slices of thick cut bacon. Now you could use applewood smoked, cherrywood smoked, or hickory smoked. This is hickory, just because that's what I could find at the store. I prefer applewood smoked, but whatever thick cut bacon, it will work for you. If you only have thin cut, you can do that, but you'd want to double the amount of slices. So use 8 slices of thin cut because we need the grease from the bacon to drip down and cook the cauliflower and roast the cauliflower. So I'm gonna lay these strips of bacon on the rack. And the way I try to do this is I try to lay it when the rack is going this way, try to lay the strips this way whenever possible. When you lay them like this, as they start to cook, sometimes they'll fall down. And although that's not the end of the world, you're gonna wanna pull the rack out and then get underneath there. And we don't have time for that. So we're gonna just try to fit them all on just like this. For this recipe, you really want your bacon nice and crispy. So, and we want the cauliflower, of course, to also kind of roast up. So what we're gonna do is start it off at 360, and usually it takes about 14 minutes when you only have the bacon in the pot. But I noticed when you have the cauliflower in the pot, it is going to take a little bit longer, up to like 20 minutes. I've also noticed that the ones on the edges get done quicker, so we'll do a little move around. But to start off, we're gonna go 7 minutes at 360 degrees on the air crisp function. And 360. Now you can cook your bacon however you like to, but you don't want to go like above 375, or I think the cauliflower might get overdone. And we're just going to take this to 7 minutes. And then we'll check it at 7 minutes. And I didn't preheat, so it's gonna take a little bit longer than if it was preheated, but I didn't want the pot at the bottom to be hot. I don't want that cauliflower to become mushy. I want it to have a nice texture, just like a potato, because this is a loaded potato salad. We're just using cauliflower. All right, so the 7 minutes just ended, and I'm just gonna open these up here, and we're gonna give a little flip of our bacon. And I'm also, as I'm flipping the bacon, I'm looking down at the cauliflower to see if any of it is getting too brown. And right now it's not, so I don't need to remove the rack. I will probably do that the next flip, because as you can see, normally these are halfway cooked in 7 minutes, but because we've got the cauliflower in the bottom, they're gonna take longer. And it is worth just being patient, keeping it on a lower temperature, and letting the bacon render the fat, because that's what's helping to roast that cauliflower and impart just a delicious flavor. So we're just gonna be patient with it. We're gonna go another 7 minutes. This little guy is trying to hide from me. I'm trying to get it so it's not overlapping another piece of bacon. That's kind of important too. See if I can just move this over a little bit here. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna put this down. We're gonna go 360 for another 7 minutes, and then we will probably take the rack out at that point and stir around the cauliflower. Okay, so we'll let the bacon continue to render that fat. So we just have a few seconds to go and I can start to smell the bacon, so I'm pretty sure we're almost there. Probably not quite, but almost. So as soon as this goes through the little few seconds of cool down, we'll open the lid. I'm gonna toss around the cauliflower, and then we will finish cooking up our bacon. And just like I said before, some of the bacon on the edges is a little bit more done. That's normal. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this rack out and just put it on here for a second. Now I'm not gonna flip the bacon while it's on the rack, and the reason is because there's some collected bacon grease on top. I don't want to lose that. I want that to go in with the cauliflower. And we can see some of the cauliflower on the edges here are getting a little more brown. So this is a great time to just kind of toss them around. They'll coat with some of that bacon grease. If there's any that are really brown, just move them to the middle. And that looks pretty good. All right, so get this rack back in and then I'll flip them. And again, you kind of have to play with it. Make sure you use something to protect your fingers, because even this edge is very hot. And now I'm just gonna kind of move this one here. This one looks like it's getting more done, so I'm gonna kind of switch those guys around. No, he can stay on the edge for a little bit longer. All right, so we're gonna go another 5 minutes at 360. And again, I mean, you could bump up the heat some and make it go a little bit faster, but I find for this recipe that the lower temperature, slower cook is better. So let's select the the air fry. And we're gonna go to 360, and the time is gonna be 5 minutes. And there we go. All right, so the 5 minutes is just about up, and now it's up, and we're just doing that cool down. They do recommend that you let that process complete, or it can mess up some of the electrical in the Ninja Foodi. So I always let that cool down just happen. It takes like a second. All right, so we can see some of this bacon. Now we still need to go just a few more minutes longer with it. And that happens because the cauliflower's in the bottom. Now, I'm kind of a little obsessed with flipping my bacon. You probably don't have to flip it as often as I do. If you wanted to set the initial time for 10 minutes, go ahead. It's not going to hurt anything, but I'm just one of those flippers. All right, so I'm going to do a little switch around too to move this over here so it gets a little more done, and move that there. And I'm going to take this one from the edge. Now at this point, like if you had some thinner pieces of bacon, oh, of course, if you're doing thin bacon, it would be done by now. If you have thinner pieces of your thick cut bacon, some of them will cook a little bit faster. So if any of them are done at this point, go ahead and take them out. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go to the air crisp. We're going to take the temp to 360, and we're going to take the time to 5 more minutes. And I'll check it at about minute 3 and see if I need to make any adjustments or take any off. But within 5 minutes, it should be done. Okay, so I took out the bacon after about 24 minutes, and honestly, I think it's the cut of bacon that I got this time. It is just not really crisping up, but I'm gonna take it out because it just wasn't getting any more done. So sometimes you get some bacon that just doesn't crisp up as nicely as other kinds of bacon do. So it'll be fine though. So I'm gonna put this here and put a paper towel on it, and I also like to fold over the paper towel because that will help to absorb that whatever grease is left, and that helps to crisp it up some too. So I'm just gonna leave that there, and the cauliflower looks beautiful. So now we're just gonna toss this around a little bit. I mean, it's just gorgeous. We've got some browning on some of the pieces. Let's see the texture here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. So while that cools down some, we're gonna mix up our dressing. And what I have for the dressing is 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt. Now, I make my own Greek yogurt with no sweetener in it. So this is just vitamin D milk that I make the yogurt in the Ninja Foodi. And I will link to that recipe below in the video description. I don't have a video out for it yet, but we're working on one. But it's a delicious recipe, and if you have the dehydration function, you can make some of the best yogurt ever in the Ninja Foodi. So 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt, 2 tablespoons of sour cream, and 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. And that's all we need. Then we're gonna add in a little salt and pepper. So we're gonna go ahead and combine these together. I'm gonna put in 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. So there's the pepper. All right, so once we get this all mixed up, that is the dressing for our cauliflower potato salad. I was so shocked when I made this the first time. It tastes like a loaded baked potato. I mean, it is just so delicious. So I hope you guys give it a try. Even if you're not low carb, give it a try because, you know, when we're indulging in all of the other picnic snacks and cookout snacks, having something just a little bit lighter can help. So here we go. This is 2 celery stalks, and I just diced them up in about a 1/4 inch dice, and it's about a 1/2 cup. No need to measure this. You can actually just, you know, if you wanted 1 celery stalk, you could put 1 in. If you didn't want any celery, don't add it in, it's fine. And this is the same. It's a 1/2 of an onion, so it's about a 1/2 cup of a red onion diced in 1/4 inch dices as well. And then we're gonna dump in our dressing. Now this can all be made in one pot if you had room in your refrigerator for this, for the Ninja Foodi pot. You could just simply put it in there to cool down. So we're gonna mix this all up. And then we're gonna get it in the refrigerator. It looks good. All right, now let's get that bacon in there. Now you could wait and add the bacon after you cool this down, but I find even though it will soften the bacon some, of course mine didn't crisp up anyway, it really starts to meld all the flavors together. So I suggest putting in the bacon at this point before you refrigerate. And yeah, I didn't get much crisp, and that's okay. It'll still taste delicious. We've got the crunch from the celery and the onion, so that'll be perfect. And the cauliflower is not like soft and mushy or anything like that. It still has a nice bite to it, but it will be softer as it sits as well. And it'll taste just like a potato. You can make these pieces of bacon any size you like. It doesn't make any difference, however big you want them. I don't think I'll get this brand of bacon anymore, though. I mean, it really did not render. Okay, perfect. Now, give this a mix around. Now, if you have a refrigerator big enough, you can just set this whole bowl, the whole inner pot in the refrigerator to cool, that's fine. But my refrigerator is pretty packed right now, so I'm gonna transfer it into a plastic container and put it in the refrigerator to cool for a few hours. Then we'll garnish with some green onion and we'll get it plated up and we'll give it a taste. So the potato salad has been in the refrigerator for several hours and it is chilled now. So I'm gonna add in my final ingredient, which is some green onions. Now you don't have to add this in if you don't want to, but I like the color it gives and I just love green onions. So I add them to all my potato salads. I've already cut off the little tips here and washed this. So now I'm just gonna take my knife and just go down. You don't have to get fancy. I mean, you could do it on the bias, but it's not necessary. And I'm just gonna get probably about a 1/4 cup. All right, that looks good. We're gonna dump that in. Now, one thing that you can do with these green onions, I know a lot of people don't eat the white part. I usually do. I'll take them quite far down. I'll use almost all of it. But if you don't, and even if you do, if you just keep the root end, you can plant this and you will grow another green onion. I've done that successfully. I bought 1 batch of green onions from the grocery store and I've been able to regrow them and they've lasted me months. So it's pretty cool. All right, just let's give this a little mix up here just to combine everything together. Oh, it looks so good. It looks just like potato salad, seriously. Yummy. All right, let's get some on a plate here. Now this will serve 6 people if you have half cup servings. Now what I'm putting on my plate is just about a quarter of a cup because that's all I need to taste it for you guys. And I think there's only like 130 calories or something in a serving. So it's a pretty nice snack here, or an accompaniment to, you know, a burger salad or something like that, or even a traditional old cheeseburger. All right, here we go. Wow. This is so good. I feel like I'm eating like a loaded baked potato. The flavor of the bacon is all throughout this. It's so delicious. I like the texture of the cauliflower. It's soft, like a potato, but not mushy at all. And the celery and the onion adds a really nice crunch. This one's a winner for sure. It's super easy to make in the Ninja Foodi, so I hope you give it a try. Seriously, I cannot stop eating this. It is so delicious. This will make me never miss potato salad, I'm telling you. And if you'd like to see more recipes like this one, head on over to Facebook and join our group, Ninja Foodi Fresh and Healthy Meals, where we try to cook up a little bit healthier in our Ninja Foodi.